Happy Sunday evening, Super League managers, Super League fans, and avid followers of the Super League in general. I hope you're ready for another night of entertainment, of action, of goals galore, hopefully. Um, First up this evening, we're going to have a quick look at the table. There was a couple of interesting results last week, which obviously saw Bolton Phoenix go back to the, or go, I say back, have they been there before? That's an interesting question. No, they haven't. We saw Bolton Phoenix go to the top of the table. Churchtown dropped down after that. Surprise result that they had against Chutley, who did very well themselves to put pressure on Astra and Panathinaikos in the race for the last playoff spot. RC Celtic, Val United, Midlothian, all within a couple of points, following close behind the two leaders. And then once we get down below the line, Astra and Chudley have really sort of identified themselves as the prime candidates for that, for the battle for sixth that Panathinaikos is currently sitting on, that position that they hold there. Below that, there's Hooligans, there's Dragons, there's Sloths, perhaps Hoddesdon and BTEC. Theoretically, I mean, 8 points up with 7 to go. Or is it 6 to go? It's a tricky situation to be in. And Swindon Devils obviously with a good result last time out. But let's have a quick reminder of how everything went last week. Astra Athletic trying with the four attackers in the standard formation didn't work out for them. Also picked up a red card. BTEC ran out 2-0 winners. Bolton Phoenix against Panathinaikos with a slight tactical mishap in terms of the chairman and Panathinaikos. But either way, Bolton Phoenix ran out 2-1 winners. Churchtown Massive, very, very disappointing for Kieran and the guys. Clearly missing Henrik Larsson, missing Van Nistelrooy, the guys behind the goals normally for that side. And they were beaten 5-1 by Chudley Cannons, perhaps a little bit surprising, but the two signings that Scott has made in Carlos Shacks and in Lee Chun So have really made a huge difference for them. Andre, of course, as well, a very, very strong goalkeeper. Huge impact from outside of the league. Another player that's had a lot of impact from outside of the league is Joey Good Johnson, who's been one of the best players in the league so far, but he was unable to do anything for Hoddesdon Hornets as they lost 4-2, perhaps surprisingly, to Dragon Destroyers, who found some form suddenly. It's been up and down for Dragons, but obviously the chairman cheering them on. Maybe they'll come with a late surge as they tried last season. Ultimately failed, of course, but let's see how they fare this one. Then we had Hooligans 1-1 with Valiant United. Probably a decent enough result on the kind of face of it for Hooligans, and a slightly disappointed for Valiant United. But again, it didn't really do Valiant any favors in the race for the top two, and it certainly didn't do Hooligans any favors in the race for sixth place. So 1-1, not great for either side. We'll see how they bounce back this week. More bouncing to do for RC Celtic, still looking for their first win, I think, after the winter break. Maybe they're going to trying desperately to retake the record of the most games without winning that BTEC took from them earlier on this season, I think. We'll see how they get on tonight. Sloths, obviously, with Paiva getting a brace for them, 2-2 draw in that one. And finally, another surprise, just as Churchtown found themselves on the receiving end of defeat. So did Midlothian, surprisingly enough. They did create a bunch of chances, much in contrast to their game against Bolton Phoenix the weekend before, or the week before. The days before. Either way, Swindon Devils, comfortable 2-0 winners in the end. Although Fifey mentioned he didn't feel that it was comfortable, but I thought it was relatively comfortable. But I'm not the one in the driving seat of the Swindon Devils, looking desperately for 3 points from anywhere. So fair play to Fifey and the boys. They got a really good result there. In terms of the fixtures that we've got coming up tonight, I mean, the game has arranged it in such a way that it actually the line the running order actually presents itself pretty well, I think, with finishing off with that top clash with Valiant United and Churchtown, two of the big hitters from last season and from this season, obviously second against fourth. We've got Ardsley at home to Hooligans first, then Astra take on Bolton Phoenix, and what's going to be another tricky encounter for Astra as they go in the search for that sixth place. What else have we got? Then we've got BTEC at home to Chudley Cannons. Chudley very convincing, coming in great form, but BTEC themselves were 2-0 winners, obviously, against Astor last week away from home. So good morale for both sides. Dragons, after that 4-goal haul there, that's got to give those guys some confidence. They're up against Sloths. And I think Schloss must have Kessman back after that headbutting of Jeremies that he went into earlier on the season. Then we've got Midlothian. They're desperately looking for points now. That's 2 terrible games for them in a row, 2 games without scoring, and yeah, not looking in the best shape. We'll see how they fare against Hoddesdon Hornets. Craig obviously tinkering with his new tactics still, and his lineup. He's found some goals. That's 6 in the last 2, but he also, I mean, it went fine against Arsley, but he did concede 4 against Dragons. So we'll see how he changes things up tonight. Panathinaikos this time with tactical changes in place, take on Swindon Devils, who are obviously bouncing after that 2-0 victory over Midlothian last week. Panathinaikos looking to get a result here tonight to hang on to that 6th place. And finally, we've got Valen United against Churchtown Massive. Valen United not in the best of run of form at the moment. Neither is Churchtown, but a big opportunity for both sides here to get back in the action. Obviously, Valen United can close the gap on the front 2, or at least on one of the front 2 if they beat Churchtown here. And similarly, Churchtown can open up a bit of a gap if they beat Valen, and if Midlothian don't pick up any points, and Bolton, if they pick up 3, then obviously the two current first and second place teams will just sneak away at the top a little bit. So obviously lots to play for in terms of the top 2, because it does become very, very difficult if you have to go through all the 4 games in order to reach the grand final first, and then you get in there with potential injuries, suspensions, tired players, etc. So a huge benefit in getting a top 2. But either way, we'll see how it goes. We're just gonna go with it. So first up we had, I believe it was Ardsley Celtic. Gabriel Milito's captain. Sounds. Oh yeah, Vieira is suspended. That's fine. Hooligans with Aymar injured. He's out for 3 weeks with a twisted ankle. So Ronaldinho drops to midfield. Salas comes in. We'll see how they go. Mendieta's also out after a poor performance. Right. A couple of technical issues, unfortunately. It does appear that the file is mildly corrupted. What I'm going to try and do is just going to play through the games without clicking anything, without seeing anything, just going straight through. Hopefully, giving you guys some commentary, and we'll hope for the best. Unfortunately, I can't click on the tactics or anything. I'm just going to see if I can get this to work. Fingers crossed, yeah. Good start for RC Celtic. Candela opening the scoring for them. Obviously, Hooligans with it all to play for, if they're going to catch up with the guys that are putting pressure on in terms of the playoffs. And Arsenal, yeah, they're looking to consolidate their space, their place in the top 6. They're obviously early leaders this year, and did so well to stay out in front and to have such a good first half of the season. But they haven't won in like 7 or 8 games now, perhaps even 9. It looks as if that could all be about to change here. We'll see how the rest of the evening goes. But obviously they're 1-0 up at halftime, so a brilliant start to the game. As mentioned, it does crash when I try to to press anything else. So this could be a very, very quick show, unfortunately. Apologize again very, very much for the inconvenience. But there's not really much else I can do other than just click continue and hope for the best. Hopefully we can get to the end of this round and then save it, and then hopefully that'll somehow fix the problem. But let's see. RC Celtic kick off the second half. Morientes is in there. And there's Sowery. That's a couple of defensive players scoring for RC Celtic. Still not getting the goals out of the strikers, despite the changes that he's made to the tactics. So we'll see how that goes. It looks as if they can hold on. Although there was Ronaldinho, but he had the goal disallowed right at the end there. Let's see how it goes. If they can do anything with the last couple of minutes. They have chances, but they are unable to do anything about it. And there's Ardsley with the final nail in the coffin. 3-0 for the home side, and that should be it, I guess. Could they get another one? No, they cannot. Okay, let's risk it and see if we can have a look at the match stats for this one. We can. So RC Celtic obviously dominating the game. They had 10 shots on target, 8 for Hooligans. Yeah, but only three on target for them. Let's see how the action played out in terms of where the ball was most of the time. So yeah, down in Hooligans side as you would expect. RC Celtic statistics, we've got an assist from Candela, assist from Donati, assist from Nikiforenko, and yeah, it's definitely a very good run out for RC Celtic here, and a good result. Morientes getting a goal, important for Hodgie obviously to get the strikers back in action. If you look at the Hooligans formation, I mean, I've we've spoken about it before. I appreciate there's something to be said for sticking with the formation, but and sticking with the players in the formation, and credit to Thiago for getting the team in on time, and you know, for his long service to the league. But uh, this isn't really. It's not doing him any favors in terms of results to stick with this tactic. I don't think. I mean, you can argue that there are other people who have different tactics that are doing worse than him, and people who are changing the tactics that are doing this similarly or worse. But if what you're doing is getting you to like 8th, 9th, 10th place, then you know it's fine that there are people doing worse, but you know, you could maybe do a little bit better. Either way, these were the tactics from RC Celtic, and these were the tactics from Hooligans. Okay, moment of truth. Will it go to the next game? Okay, phew. So we've got BTEC off next. We've got BTEC up against Chudley Cannons next. We'll see how this one goes. Obviously, let's see if we can proceed to the match, and for Chudley, if we can do this as well. Hoopy has selected as captain. I wonder who was the captain before. So now we're in this situation again. Let's see if we can do the same as we did as I could do with the previous game, and just click my way through this. And then as long as I don't click on anything and start the game after that, then hopefully it'll be okay. This is obviously not. It's not that much fun to sit and press this button, but there we go. We made it to the game eventually. Right, let's have a look, see if this works. BTEC Troopers are lining up in their a little bit more familiar home formation, and Chudley Cannons are lining up like this. Mendes da Silva comes in at the back. Mark Kerr is still there. Van Bommel is out. I think suspended possibly. Amoroso up at the front, and Lee Chun-so and Shax, the two heroes from that Churchtown game, obviously finding a space in the starting 11. For BTEC, there weren't many changes either. I think Lucas Neal coming in for Emerson, who was suspended or injured. Either way, are the only other is the only change for the home side. Both teams with a great result last time out, so let's see what they can do tonight in terms of continuing that run. Obviously, BTEC still in with a tiny technical chance of getting to the top six. Chudley looking much more likely to make it if Astor or Panathinaikos were to stumble this evening. But let's kick off the match and see how the game goes. Great start for Chudley Cannons. They are really finding some form now with that 5-1 win, and Carlos completely unstoppable. He's really onto something now with those players playing in this formation. Scott here, because it looks as if he's definitely found a way to score. Let's see if he can also keep BTEC from scoring for the rest of the game. That's obviously that's Emre getting injured for him, I think. Will this? I'm s- I'm s- I'm sorry about this. I'm just so scared of pressing anything at the moment. Um, we'll probably put up the 2-0 up, so we'll put Gallardo in. He's going to be a better than not Mark cancel. We're going to put Gallardo in there, and that should be okay. I could put Finnan in, but yeah, Gallardo's better in central midfield. We'll see. So yeah, apologies for the nerves. I really don't like clicking things because I have been kicked out back to the desktop on a couple of occasions when I tried it. So we'll see how it goes. Either way, half time. Let's have a look at the match stats. It looks as if this button is working. So yeah, poor performance from Buffon. Very controlled performance from Chudley Cannons. Action zones mostly in the middle of the park, fairly easily even distribution there. Mark Kerr with a genius from Scott to put Mark Kerr down in that DMC role. He's been brilliant down there. He obviously had a very good game with Mark van Bommel first time out. Good game last time against Churchtown away from home, and continuing that great form now. In terms of BTEC, it's been okay, but Danielson's not really getting anything out of it. Agahawa, the front three, I mean, it looked so promising for him against Asta, but it's kind of fallen back down again tonight. Let's see in the second half if BTEC can find a way back into this. They did have the more shots. They're just only 2 on target, and oh, that's not looking good for BTEC here. Gonna have to chance it a little bit. They are playing with 2. They're playing with 1 up front, so why not? Why not just go for it? 1 at the back, direct marking on Amoroso and Milevski and Proton on the 2 AMCs. It's gonna have to do something to try and get back into this. We can't put extra defenders on for BTEC tonight. They're actually having a slightly better time of it after that, but still no goals, obviously. So Roberto comes in, and there's Akahawa. Slightly, they're actually getting back into this, creating a few more chances, and looking as if they could pick up the equalizer if Chudley are not careful here. They do need to make sure that. Oh, that's not gone well at all. We will have to put someone back there, I guess. Um, Yeah, I mean, it was all going so well for BTEC. They got that away win against Alf. Let's see if they can hang on here. They could even still sucker punch them. They still have the attacking players out there, so it is possible. Kieran Dyer going very close, but it stays a 2-1 victory. Chudley Cannons now really making a late surge here, trying to get into the playoffs. Yeah, a great performance from them. Obviously, there was not much BTEC could do, being down to 10 men. They did manage to get 1 goal back through Agahawa, who's really finding some form for them now. But it was never going to be easy. I mean, in the way they benefited from that game against Asta, the red card in that one, then Chudley definitely benefited from the red card in this one as well. 2 central defenders both suspended for the next game. I wonder who BTEC's got next. We'll probably have a look at that. In terms of action zones, obviously, as the game wore on, more and more were played down in BTEC's half. If we look at the individual player stats for BTEC Troopers, disappointing to see both Nesta and Rio Ferdinand picking up a yellow and a red card. Well, 2 yellows, both of them. Danielson only getting a 6-0. Roberto doing well down on that flank, crossing in for Agahawa to score the goal. Contra, Proton doing well, Milevski doing well. So kind of a pretty strong performance all round. I mean, apart from Buffon letting 2 goals in the first half, and then the 2 central defenders getting sent off. So credit to Amoroso for taking them on, and for Shaxs and for Lichunso to obviously contribute in there as well. Matt Kerr getting man of the match, the 2 assists. Carlos Shaxs gets another goal. He's doing very, very well for Chudley at the moment. And Amoroso, who's come in for Rossini, who's fallen out of favour with his manager due to his failure to score goals, is the hero of the night with effectively the second goal and thereby the winner. Sorry, that was Shaq with the second goal and thereby the winner. But good contribution from Amoroso. Hupierre doing well as captain. Plenty of tackles in for him. Mendes da Silva, of course, in covering for Rocket Jr., doing a pretty good job in getting an 8 as well. Yeah, that's pretty much all there is to say about this one. We'll we'll cross our fingers and continue through the action. Next up, we have for some reason Panathinaikos against Swindon Devils. I'm not going to challenge the game and start clicking about here. Let's see if we have the right tactic on there. So let's see if we have to do the same again for Swindon Devils. Yeah. Well, it seemed to work last time, so you're just gonna have to bear with me while I click frantically through this little bit here, and we'll hopefully get to the end of it. I'm kind of hoping that the file is gonna like stop being corrupted, because this is gonna be kind of annoying if we have to do this every week. Either way, there's Swindon Devils. It also means there are buttons that I don't press, but I can maybe, if we get through this, I can do a little bit of testing and see if it can be salvaged. I obviously hope so. Would be a bit of a shame. Panathinaikos at home. Slight change to the formation. As mentioned, they had a different lineup that they wanted to put out, and some changes that perhaps weren't in place for the Bolton game, but here they are. They're carrying on in the Swindon game. He's got Cannavaro back, which is a big win for him. Apart from that, yeah, so that's probably the other way around, I would guess. We've got Jogata, Salihamidzic, we've got Nedved in midfield, Henry and Trezeguet up front, and yeah, that's looking positive. I will double check in terms of the formation, because I don't want to, after last week, I'd rather get it right. So I'm just going to double check the position of Thierry Henry and Trezeguet. Let's have a look. Henri on the left-hand side. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, so we are good to go from a Panathinaikos side perspective. Let's see if they can get a slightly better result. Swindon Devils Liverpoolers fails a late fitness test. Kluivert starts in his place. Apart from that, it's the same. It's the same bunch of players who obviously had that great result against Midlothian last time out, 2-0 victory there. A bit of a I don't know if it was a stroke of genius or what it was, but putting Elmander back or putting the AMC back in the center of midfield and putting arrows on all of these guys really seems to have done the trick for Swindon Devils. So let's kick off the first half and see how the Devils go, if they can continue to pick up points. Panathinaikos obviously now under pressure as Charlie won their game earlier. Good start from both sides, I guess. A couple of chances, I think, a couple of shots for either side. Swindon Devils obviously in a very tasty baby blue, baby pink kind of kind of kit. A little bit difficult to read what it says, but it looks nice, I guess. Nice little combo there. Or is it orange? Either way, it's Elmander from out of nowhere scoring and putting Swindon Devils ahead 1-0. Turning point for Swindon Devils, maybe? And Panathinaikos continues to struggle for some reason. And there's Patrick Kluivert. Swindon gets their second. Panathinaikos pulls one back. That's Nedved. He's been the player of the season for Panathinaikos along with Cannavaro so far. Obviously, they are continuing to pile on the pressure. Panathinaikos looking for that goal to equalise. They really can't afford to lose this one. Poor goalkeeping performance, something that's been a problem for Panathinaikos earlier on this season. Kind of poor-ish for Swindon as well. 2 shots on target for either side and 3 goals. That's never the most satisfying if you're the manager looking at that from a goalkeeping and a defensive perspective. In terms of possession, Panathinaikos has all of it. Most of the plays in the middle of the park and a bit more down in Swindon's end, but they are failing to convert and to do anything about it really. Dida disappointingly only getting a 5. Salihamidzic not having much luck. I don't think he was exactly. He's been exactly brilliant this season. Oh gosh, don't press. Trezeguet. Disappointing to see him as well, only getting a 6. It's not been a good season for him or for any of the Panathinaikos players really in terms of getting goals. It's a curious one. It's a little bit in the same vein as BTEC. Obviously, Panathinaikos had a much better start to the season, but it seemed to have dramatically dropped off, unfortunately for them. Maybe they'll find a way back in the second half again. Cannavaro's back in there with a bunch of tackles. Nicky Butt doing okay as well. Ambrosini in there. Salihamidzic really and Trezeguet really the weak point along with the keeper in that first half. For Swindon, Clarence Seedorf, Simone Inzaghi not doing the best. Everyone else hitting a 7. Chris, obviously a recent signing from Swindon Devils, doing a brilliant job next to Paulo Montero there in the central defence. And Yoel Elmander, who's was a bit of a controversial inclusion in the squad, I think. Fifey has a high opinion of him, but I'm not sure he's really rated amongst the other managers. But we saw that with Paiva last time out. I mean, certainly I didn't rate him from a chairman's perspective, but he did score 2 goals for Sloth. So we'll see. It could all be about to change here as we kick off the second half. Panathinaikos obviously desperate for those 3 points. Otherwise, Charlie will take that place at least until the Astor game. And Swindon, could they pick up 3 points? They could be on their way to 20. BTEC lost. They can still be caught. Let's see what happens as we enjoy the second 45. Dida made a save, so that's always something. That's something for Panathinaikos to shout about. They have had a couple of chances as well themselves, so it's not looking too bad for them. But Swindon Devils are continuing to create, and I think they are difficult to break down with that big block of players they've got there. And Patrick Kluivert, if he's on form, then Swindon Devils definitely have a guy that will get them 15, 20 goals this season. He did get quite a few last season, and he's continuing to do so, and that should be the 3 points in the bag for Swindon. There's Simone Inzaghi, but he had the goal ruled out for offside. Panathinaikos' bad luck continues, but there's Trezeguet with the score. Can they get a late equalizer here? No, they cannot. Oof, Swindon go from strength to strength. It's another win for the Devils, 2 on the bounce. I'm not going to say when there was the last time that happened, but I'm sure Fifey will be able to enlighten us on that one. No doubt he will have been panicking a little bit when Inzaghi had that goal disallowed. Trezeguet pulled one back, but it stays 3-2, and Swindon Devils win. And to be fair to them, just moving that player back seems to have done all the difference. 11 shots, 7 of them on target. it's a strong performance. They're not winning so many tackles. They may be a little bit lucky with some of the headers and Panathinaikos sort of I mean, not really converting, but then again, 7 versus 5, 3-2. I mean, on average, it's a pretty fair result. If we look at the action zones, Panathinaikos a little bit less of the play in the second half as they did in the first, but apart from that, fairly sort of even distribution. Look at the Panathinaikos lineup. It's Dida kind of costing them here. I mean, he should perhaps have done a little bit better. Strong defensive performance from Udesi, Cannavaro, Bot, and Ambrosini. They're all getting 8s and 9s, which is perhaps a little bit surprising when you concede 3 goals. Riquelme, Salihamidzic, not doing their very, very best. Pavel Nedved, probably player of the season along with Cannavaro so far for Panathinaikos, do their bits, but that's them below the line now. Swindon Devils take all 3 points at the Kennels. In terms of the Swindon Devils formation and points awarded to players, Chris, for some reason, dropped. His performance dropped severely in the second half. Not a single header was attempted by him. It's a little bit strange considering that they played 2 at the back up against 2 strikers, so I'm not quite sure what happened there. Paulo Montero doing Paulo Montero things and getting an 8. Obviously, very dominant aerial performance by him. Cole and Mills really starting to find themselves in those wing-back positions. Even Zinedine Zidane, the captain, picking up an 8. Maybe his teammates will start to like him now. Marc-Vivien Foe's been brilliant for Swindon Devils as well. Look at that performance in there, tackling 3 key tackles, 10 in total out of 18. Not the best percentage, but getting 3 key tackles in is obviously good enough for him. Simone Inzaghi unlucky to have a goal disallowed. Maybe we'll see Filippo back in soon. Patrick Kluivert only getting an 8 after scoring 2 goals. That's a little bit disappointing, but he did pass terribly and not tackle and lost a couple of headers, so maybe that's why. And then finally, Johan Amanda, who gets a goal and gets an assist, actually runs away with the man of the match performance and gets a 10 for Swindon Devils. So yeah, I mean, incredible performance by the Devils, and they're clearly having high hopes of escaping the bottom spot in the league. And with BTEC losing, who knows? It could be just around the corner that they pick up another 3. BTEC fail to pick up points again with 2 defenders out. Then you never know where it might end for Swindon Devils this season. We'll obviously follow that story with great interest. Next up, we have Vallon United against Churchtown. Yep, not much else to say about it because I didn't press any other buttons. And then we'll just have to go through this little thing. So bear with me. You can maybe make a song or something like that to entertain yourselves while I do the clicking. It will get there eventually. It will get there eventually. There we go. Okay, so Vallon United, Churchtown, 2 of the big hitters from last season, obviously. Vallon United finalists and Churchtown put in a strong performance as well. Churchtown until recently the league leaders and free scoring side, but things have changed since Larsson's been out, Van Nistelrooy's been out, but we have got Henrik Larsson back tonight, so we'll see what he can do. For Vallon United, we've got Stephen Reid comes in for Fiore, who's injured. Cafu is back from injury. Keane is back in the centre of midfield, or was he there already? I think it's just Jeremies that goes out. Lazizi Ayala at the back, Saviola, Shevchenko, Totti. It's a very, very strong, balanced side. It's not too different for the one that reached the final last season. It's just a question of getting those goals. And of course, as we spoke about on many occasions, Saviola and Shevchenko have not really been consistent in delivering them. So we'll see if that changes tonight. In terms of Churchtown's lineup, they have got Larsson back. That means Hersey drops completely out of the squad. Olisadebe is still there. Romeo up at front. So he's keeping the formation, but obviously changing the personnel. I think obviously Robin and Larsson coming in. Robin in that slightly better role for him, and Larsson definitely in a very much a better role for him. Still missing Van Nistelrooy. Obviously, that's going to be key to him this season to get Van Nistelrooy back and getting back in amongst the goals rather than enduring what he has been recently. We'll kick off the first half and we'll see if the Swedes can bounce back after a couple of poor performances from them. Churchtown, of course, morale being a little bit low after that 5-1 hammering, but at the same time probably looking for a way back to 3 points and winning ways. But difficult place to go to, Vallon United, and pick up 3 definitely. So we'll see how it goes. It's been a little bit quiet early on, as it sometimes is when the top teams play each other. As Romeo getting an injury, we have got Roy Mackay. He is one of those guys. So the question is if it's probably going to be better to do that. I think we're going to swap these 2 guys. So there we go. That should be okay. So yeah, some of the stronger sides, whether they actually cancel each other out in terms of tactics or oh, that's Oli Sadibi with the goal. So it seems as if he likes that position. So whether they cancel each other out in terms of formation or in terms of quality, that can obviously be discussed. But um, it's been fairly quiet. Probably a couple more chances for Churchtown just on the face of it, but let's see how the stats are. No, there wasn't a couple more chances for Churchtown on the face of it. In fact, it was Valen who had the most of the chances, but somehow failing to convert again. Not winning many tackles, but neither's Churchtown. How does that work out? But anyway, and in the air they're being out-headed by Valen. In terms of possession, fairly evenly spread out throughout the pitch. Uh, Roy Keane getting in with a bunch of tackles. Toldo doing pretty good. Lisa Rasu. There's plenty of key passes, but if we look at Totti, if we look at Shevchenko, if we look at Saviola, Totti's providing a lot of passes, but they are not very incisive. They're not really creating anything. That the creativity is coming from further down the park, which is not ideal, obviously. Stephen Reed perhaps not really doing his very best in terms of performance either, but things could obviously change. Valen has been known as a second half team earlier on, but whether they still are remains to be seen, obviously. But overall, a slightly disappointing performance from Valen United. Roy Keane probably, not surprisingly, the best player, picking up an 8 and doing rather well in there. Not much better for Churchtown. Barry Ferguson getting an assist. It's obviously good to see Barry Ferguson back in the point scoring in terms of assists or goals. Had such a prolific run last season. 2 key passes. That's the difference between him and Francesco Totti. 2 key passes and an assist. That seems to be the difference between the teams. Noli Sadibi obviously benefiting from that and scoring after being moved up front. Roy Mackay's come in to replace the injured Romeo. It's a 59, so it's probably not until forever. And obviously, Kieran will be hoping that Van Nistelrooy will be back anyway. Let's see what happens in the second half as we kick this one off and see if Shevchenko will find a goal. He was obviously competing with Ruud van Nistelrooy for the top scorer position, but I think it's Montella probably currently occupying top spot there. And with Ruud van Nistelrooy out, it was really up to Shevchenko to prove that he can be the one to challenge for those honors this season. But it's not looking so likely so far tonight. He did have a good shot there, and Reed with a follow up. Unfortunately for him, nothing doing out of that. And instead of Henrik Larsson, who's coming back to Sweden, back to scoring, and obviously back to leading the Churchtown side towards a potential 3 points here. Very strong performance from them. Also defensively, I mean, again, it shouldn't be so easy to keep Shevchenko and Saviola away from the table, but it looks as if they're feeding off scraps at the moment, and it's not going their way. And when it doesn't go their way, it doesn't go Valen's way, because they rely on, obviously, you rely on your strikers to actually score goals. Mike Duff trying to trying to do something tonight. And there's Saviola. Where have you been all evening, Saviola? Popping up there in added time to get that goal, but it's nothing more than a consolation for Valen United as they utterly dominate Churchtown, but they fail to score. I mean, there's got to be a man of the match performance in the Churchtown goal, I would presume. Uh, Pretty much all of the play down in Churchtown's half. A couple of counters for them was good enough for them to to get the goals and pick up the points. Let's have a look at the. Yeah, that's a rough one. That's a bitter pill for Valen to swallow again, dominating and just not finding the goals. Symptomatic of their performances when things aren't going their way. Same as a grand final last season. Saviola has 6 shots, 4 of them on target. Shevchenko 3 and 2, Totti 4 and 3. Every one of his attacking players are doing a pretty good job. They're having shots on target. There's chances being created all over the park. Shevchenko even getting an assist. Yeah, it's just a champing. It's just a good old-fashioned champing, isn't it? With Oliver Kahn picking up the man of the match, saving 14 out of 15. Is that really? Yeah, saving 14 out of 15 shots. John Welsh, of all people, coming up with an assist, and Barry Ferguson obviously had that one from the first half. Henrik Larsson back with a bang. Not a great performance by any stretch of the imagination from Churchtown, but they're picking up 3 points when it counts, and obviously big thanks from Kieran to Oliver Kahn, probably. Not sure why he was so inspired tonight, but clearly he sees potential in the side, and he's hoping to be there in the grand final at the end of the season. Oliver, in what is probably one of his last seasons. I guess he has 1 or 2 years left, but yeah, strong performance from him, and Churchtown get the 3 points and keep the pressure up on Bolton, who we won't be seeing next. We will be seeing Dragon Destroyers, and yeah, interesting to see how they fare. Obviously, 4-2 winners last time out, no changes at all from the manager, and now we're gonna have to press buttons for a while. A couple of minor changes for the Sloss. We'll go through them in a second once we get through this little bit here. Unable to access required data from disk. I have no idea how this became a thing suddenly. Don't know if it's a Windows update or something related to that. I have no idea where this has come from, but I'll obviously try and fix it afterwards if we can get through the end of this, get the game saved, and hopefully move on. Either way, let's have a look at Dragon Destroyers. Completely unchanged from last week. Viduka, Brosek, Keane, Giggs came in and got those couple of assists there, starting to do well on the left-hand side. Davies out on the right-hand side, a place he can definitely play, although many people probably use him more centrally. Kalata, Tomati, and Guardiola in their preferred positions at the back. Rustico and Simic, who've been solid for him most of the season, apart from the odd kind of slip up. Only kind of fly in the ointment is perhaps Brosek's performances that haven't been as great as they were in the beginning of the season. The difference is that now Robbie Keane is starting to join the party, which is good for him, because last season that was the problem with Dragons. When Robbie Keane wasn't performing, they had nothing, because Brosek wasn't really at the races at that point. Now Brosek is there. He obviously joined them from Chutley, I believe, and yeah, it's been a different story this season. Brosik has had some good performances, and Robbie Keane as well. He obviously prefers to play alone in that AMC role, and yeah, it's worked out okay for Dragons so far. In terms of slots, perhaps a little bit surprising. They're going with a change, so they are matching man for man. Actually, they've moved uh, whoever it was that played, Selakovic maybe, who played next to De Alessandro in the midfield from in the last game. Was it Selakovic? I believe so. Dropped him. Piver has to play. Obviously, he got a brace last time out, and Kessman comes back in after that 1 game suspension after murdering Jens Jeremies. De Alessandro keeps his place in midfield. Duff obviously on the left hand side. Yeah, he's got good players. He's getting a couple of results. A little bit unlucky maybe with that 2-2 last time out slot, but there could be goals in this one with two teams lining up so similarly. Normally you would think they'd cancel each other out, but I have a feeling there could be goals in this one. And there definitely is. Roy Keane rediscovering himself, rediscovering the Robbie Keane of last season, with the early goal, putting Dragons in the lead. But the Alessandro, the attacking midfielders, that AMC role is definitely paying off. A little bit surprising considering they're up against very, very sort of like a heavy loaded DMCs on the other side. That both the AMCs have managed to get a goal already in the first half. The Alessandro with the equaliser, and there's Robbie Keane again. No one's picking up his run. And there's Simon Davies from the right-hand side. Goals flying in from everywhere for Dragon Destroyers. Now a brilliant first half performance from them. Let's see if Sloss can get one back before half-time. They could not. Yeah, I mean, a story of Robbie Keane and a couple of goalkeepers. One who's done a pretty good job and one who hasn't. 5 shots on target, 3 goals. 4 shots on target, 1 goal. Kind of tells its own little story there. Tackles won 91% for Somerset Sloss. That's incredible. So yeah, it's really people. Some of the defensive players are really having a good time, and some of them are actually having a terrible time if they're letting the AMCs run straight through. Fairly even distribution in terms of where the ball's been, but Dragon Destroyers obviously having the best of it results wise, and the best of it possession wise. So let's see. Oh my goodness, what a performance at halftime! There's assist for Giggs, there's assist for Simic and for Kaladze, 2 goals for Robbie Keane and 1 for Simon Davies. Brilliant performance. Strong defensive display. Rustico and Simic there at the back, taking care of business. Robbie Keane, he even had a couple of key passes as well, trying to get Viduka and Brosek in, but obviously Dragon Destroyers, it is a little bit like playing without strikers. I don't know, but obviously the 2 guys up there are obviously occupying defenders and making space for Robbie Keane to run into, so shouldn't complain too much, and I'm sure that Jamie won't complain too much about a 3-1 lead at half time. As we saw last time out though, a lead at half time doesn't necessarily mean a win, and if Taibbi can improve his performance, if Piver and Van Bronckhorst can improve their performances, then maybe there'll be something to shout about for them in the second half as well. De Alessandro unassisted getting that goal. Jeppesen and Ndiaye and Simeone. Solari and Van Bronckhorst are the only players who've lost a tackle. So I'm not entirely sure how Robbie Keane has just walked through them, but Taibbi's not covered himself in glory in this game. But we'll see how it goes in the second half, if Dragons can build on this, or if Sloss can find a way back in. Kessman back from suspension, though. It'll be interesting to see if he could get a goal, but it hasn't looked likely so far. It's Joao Paiva again. That man. But there's Brozic, his 10th of the season. I told you there was going to be goals in this one. This one had goals written all over it with the form that these two sides have been in recently. I think that's fair to say that when it clicks for Dragon Destroyers, they are pretty difficult to play against. But Sloss aren't without skills themselves. And there's Kessman. There's definitely goals in this one. It's 4-4 now. And that's how it stays. Kessman with the late clutch and the equalizer for Sloss here. What a performance from Mattia Kessman coming in there. Again, goalkeepers not doing themselves any favors in terms of reselection for future matches, but with a total of 13 shots on target and 8 of them ending up in the back of the net, it was definitely one for the neutrals. The passing, the tackling quality obviously dropped their way completely in the second half as well. So not really much to write home about there. Still, in terms of the way the game was distributed, fairly even still. 4-4. I mean, 1 point does neither side no any favors, but it was a joy to watch. Robbie Keane getting the man of the match award. Brozic back in the goals. Viduka doing absolutely almost nothing. Who picked up? Oh, he got the last assist. Oh, I'm sorry, Mark. I do apologize. Carini only getting a 6. Both managers obviously will be kicking themselves that day. It wasn't their keeper who could just have had a slightly better day than the opposition keeper, and obviously maybe snuck a 4-3 victory out of this one. Giggs with a good performance. I mean, strong performances across the board is really a question of the keeper letting them down there. Let's see if the same for Somerset Sloths. Oh gosh, absolutely. Strong performances. Duff with another assist. Alessandro somehow not getting a man of the match award despite getting an assist and 2 goals. Was that the same as Robbie Keane? Okay, well, either way, a poor performance in terms of passing from D'Alessandro, completing less than 66% of his, obviously. Kessman with that late goal. Paiva coming in with a goal as well. Will we see 2 up front again from Sloths? I mean, maybe. It's a little bit difficult to say that he could put on more defenses, and that would have helped now that Taibbi gets a 5. So yeah, poor performance from the goalkeepers at either end, but a brilliant game for the neutrals. And yeah, it'll do Swindon a lot of favors this as they continue to to set their sights on sides they can overtake. Was it the quest for 9th or something like that? Where was it the 5 you wanted to end up at the end of the season? Results like this go are some that are going his way, so he's probably going to be fairly pleased with that. Then we've got Astor Athletic against Bolton Phoenix. Let's see how this one goes. Is this the last one? I've forgotten now. We'll see. No, we still got Artley and Hoddesdon to come as well, I believe. Let's see. Yep, we've got some midfielders back in. Oh dear. Should it not have been after the next one? Who are the teams that get this error? We'll see if Bolton get it as well. I thought it was after the second team after the in the previous efforts that we've had. We'll see if we can click through this. Okay. Oh well, we went to the game. I'm not entirely sure what happened to the Bolton Phoenix lineup. I hope it's okay. Let's have a quick check. So we've got Juninho and Brugink back in. We've got Smith and Guillermo up front. Placente's back in again for the suspended. Johan Vogel, Babel, and Juliano form the defensive partnership, and Lehmann is on goal. Super narrow formation, obviously, for Astor, sticking with his plan B is Alf tonight. Guillermo, yeah, he's come in. He's done okay. Sonny Anderson's done okay. It's still a little bit of a struggle. It's like an old and young team he's got up there. Guillermo not even 30 yet, but you know, in the kind of the setup that he has of bringing in slightly older players. I guess Guillermo is a bunch older than Smith. Rui Costa comes in for Boyer, who perhaps wasn't yeah, he hasn't been that great, to be completely honest. So we'll see if Rui Costa can do any better. Not that he's been particularly great. Bolton Phoenix welcome back Juan Sebastian Berrong in central midfield, which means that Kewell moves into where Raul was playing. Raul is shifted over to play where Figo was playing. This is the strongest formation probably of the season that Bolton have at their disposal, and it's going to be a tricky one for Aston Athletic to do anything about that. But we'll see. Obviously, they if they can do themselves the favor and stay with 11 players on the pitch here with Scott Defiso taking charge of this one, then that's going to go a long way to help them. But Bolton Phoenix on a good run at the moment. And with Montella in great form, with strong players at the back, keeping the opponents at bay, they're difficult to break down. They've conceded very, very few goals this season. I think it was them and Valen who's probably down in that sort of 15, 16, 17 goals conceded for the season. And there's Verong from central midfield. He's been instrumental to Bolton's success this season, probably taking over where Sambrota and Dede were so dominant last season. It seems as if it's been down the middle of the park that Bolton have found the most success this year. And yeah, they've been very, very good value for money. But Arnold Brooking, just on the stroke of halftime, pulling a goal back from Aston Athletic. It had been a fairly even first half, and for once I was right. 6 shots for either side, a little bit better in terms of shots on target for Bolton Phoenix. A bit disappointed bringing in Rab Douglas to stop this issue of conceding a number of goals on a very low number of shots on target, but he hasn't been able to do something with this one tonight. Poor aerial performance from Bolton Phoenix as well, up against the big, tall, old guys of Aston Athletic. But let's have a look at the action zones. So it's definitely a midfield battle here. Bolton with more possession, but more than 50% of the football being played in the middle of the park. Not a bad performance from Aston Athletic as such in the first half. Rui Costa coming in and doing a good job in place of Lee Boyer, setting up Arnold Brooking with the assist, and he obviously puts them ahead. Zanetti already on a yellow. Aston needs to be careful now. They cannot afford to get another red card. That was what cost them last time out against BTEC. Alan Smith, a very, very poor performance from him. 3 shots, none of them on target. Juninho Paulista also not doing brilliantly. But it's a tricky opponent, obviously last season's finalists and table toppers Bolton Phoenix. But it's Chudley. It's Chudley heading into the playoff spaces as it stands at the moment. So unless Aston can find a way through in the second half, then it's going to be Scott and the boys that are getting in there. Yeah, Montella getting an assist for some reason. You would have expected it to be the other way around. Just a little bit more of a composed performance. Did it for some reason. Not doing a whole lot, but doing very well with what he's doing. Yapstam very, very dominant there at the back. Obviously keeping presumably Alan Smith completely out of it. Gary Neville as well, stopping Guillermo, or the other way around. Either way, they're not giving any space for the Aston strikers. So it has been it was obviously that there was going to be Brooking that had to step in, as Dakur and Senoni and the DMC roles have been less impressive than their central defensive counterparts. Harry Kewell not getting the most out of it here. Maybe should have kept Figo in there and Raul. That partnership was working okay, but Kewell has been very good this season. But they'll be disappointed to have conceded there. Rab Douglas obviously came in and has done very well, but I mean, early days ish. We do have another 45 to play, so let's see if Aston can get something in the second half to catch up to Chudley, or if Bolton will prove too strong. They obviously have Churchtown to keep up with in terms of results and in terms of picking up points. So they do well to get 3 points here, but so far it's not looking as if either side has got the upper hand in the second half. So it could be a stroke of genius or an error by someone who could decide the game. A lot less goals than the last one, obviously, but it's a little bit more of a tense affair. But quite interesting anyway to see how Lehmann intercepts it, breaks it all up. And then it goes down the other end. Guilherme can't finish. Oh, Montella, top scorer of the league. Oh, Sambrota picks up an injury. Probably put. Can Senoni play out there? Yeah, Senoni plays out there. We'll do. Who got injured? Sambrota. Where is he? Sambrota. And then like that. Montella with the goal. Obviously, that could be the winner. 4 or 5 minutes left to play. Let's see. Yeah, that's it. That's it for tonight. That's it for tonight for this one. That's Montella getting the goal for Bolton Phoenix and putting them ahead. They're keeping up with Churchtown. They are putting in a strong performance here. 30 free kicks, bunch of offsides. Aston Athletic, I was going to say unlucky, but it's not really. I mean, in the second half, they just didn't have enough shots on target to keep up with the Phoenix, who are really hitting their stride now, and obviously looking pretty good for a top two finish. Let's have a look at the Aston Athletic stats. Marcus Babbel disappointingly getting a 5. Alan Smith also getting a 5. 4 shots, none of them on target. Junior Palista, 2 shots, none of them on target. Yeah, I mean, Plan B. Maybe it's time for Plan A or Plan C again. Who knows? That's obviously some tough games he's had here, Asta. But that's Panathinaikos, BTEC, and Bolton Phoenix. Now he's had the 3 chances to sneak into the top 6 and been found wanting or falling just short on all 3 opportunities there. Good performances from some of the players, but just a little bit of an issue there with Babbel not getting the tackles in, obviously costing him Paulista, and Smith, but not working together in the left hand side of the attack there for him either. So yeah, drawing board time again for Aston Athletic, either in terms of lineup or perhaps in terms of changing the tactic a little bit, not necessarily the formation, but perhaps the instructions. If you look at Bolton Phoenix, I mean, Harry Kuehl, as mentioned, didn't have the best first half. He didn't have the best second half either, but that didn't really matter because Vincenzo Montella ran out with a brilliant performance, ran out with the man of the match award, obviously. He got an assist and scored unassisted for the second of the Bolton goals, getting the winner for them, and yeah, securing all 3 points back to the Tony Knowles suite, and Bolton Phoenix keeping the pressure up on Churchtown, and yeah, staying near the top of the table, or at the top of the table rather. Rap Douglas obviously doing a much better job in the second half, but look at that performance from Jaap Stam. I mean, you could perhaps argue that. I mean, Montella did well, obviously, in terms of scoring a goal and getting an assist, but this is where the key is to their win tonight. Jaap Stam and Gary Neville, and to some extent Dakura as well, completely keeping out the opponents. So brilliant result for Bolton Phoenix to win. Another tricky away game done for them, and they move on. They progress this season. We've got Midlothian coming up next against Hoddesdon Hornets. Have we really still got Arsley? Have Arsley played? Arsley played the first game, didn't they? I think Arsley was the first game. This could be the last one. Okay. Anyway, well, sorry for the lack of professionalism, guys. We'll get there eventually, and hopefully the save will survive. We'll proceed to the match. Okay. Just have a little bit of a clicking session here. So yeah, a couple of changes for Midlothian, obviously, after some disappointing results for them. I think Hoddesdon Hornets have made 1 or 2 changes as well, but I'll double check as we get into the game eventually. There we go. So back to business for Midlothian. That's what the manager says anyway. Vieira back, Ortega, that front 3, flat 5 at the back here. A little bit defensive at home, I have to say, but we'll see. It's obviously they're missing Gattuso. They're missing Steven Gerrard and his performances, his playmaker role or passer role or whatever he's got him in. He seems as if he's part of everything, as he was for so many years for Liverpool in an alternative universe. But Gattuso's in there, Ramelo's in there, new boy Varmolov is in there along with Shuk Dulaj and the guys at the back. Tam Klomper, he hasn't got his buddy with him. He's got Addo, because the other chap whose name escapes me at the moment is obviously suspended. Hoffland is the other guy who's suspended tonight. Yeah, Archie back. Ortega, Vieri, they were really on a run until they had that Bolton game, and then last time out, obviously against Swindon, they suffered as well. Hornets is a team you never really know what you're going to get with them. They have they've got Johnson out suspended, so they've got Hargreaves in there. They've got David Dunn in midfield. I mean, there's goals in here. If they can score, then obviously they've got a chance. Defensively, are they strong enough to stop Midlothian? Maybe. The difference will be getting past that wall of 5 DMCs or DMs that he set up there, Ian. So interesting to see what Hoddesdon can do in Edinburgh, or Sydney, as it's also known, tonight. We kick this one off. Midlothian, the home side, taking on Hoddesdon Hornets in, I think it's the final game of the season. Well, it's our final game of the evening, rather. We'll have a look. Could be the final game of the season if the save continues to play up like it has been. But let's see. Yeah, 20 minutes in, couple of chances, one for Batistuta. I think Vieri had a chance as well for Midlothian. Obviously, Eric Addo in central defence is maybe a little bit concerning when you're up against Tigalco, Batistuta, and the guys there, Etu again as well in that central midfield. Could be dangerous, and Diego Tristan as well. Diego Tristan, I think so, who's in there. Could be a difficult night for Midlothian, and so far they failed to break down the Hornets, and the Hornets have failed to break down Midlothian. So it's a bit of a head scratcher for Midlothian at the moment. Where are the goals going to come from? Obviously, in the first game against in the game against Bolton, they had no chances, so there were no goals in that. In Swindon, they had plenty of chances, but no goals again. And here it's been even Stevens and 4 shots each, one on target. It's not ideal, but that's what it is. Midlothian with all of the possession and not really doing anything about it. Perhaps that gap between the 5 defensive players and the 3 attacking players is a little bit too great. Let's see how they've fared. Obviously, struggling to get key passes in there. Only 2 key passes, both of them from Roberto Carlos. They're obviously trying down the left hand side, but very very few passes for Ramalov, for Christian Vieri, for Ortega. Yeah, I mean, you can't say they've played particularly badly. Um, they've just not played particularly well either. 7s across the board. Presumably, it'll be something similar for Hornets. Um, yeah, it's a little bit. I mean, Sigalco's on an 8. I'm not entirely sure why. Some good passes, but that's about it. And won a couple of headers, but nothing really to write home about. So a bit of a boring first half, to be honest. Not quite Midlothian Bolton boring, but a little bit boring. But let's see if the second half will bring us some goals. Midlothian, obviously, they do have the players. They have proven early in the season that they can definitely score goals. Hornets have scored 6 in the last 2, so I mean it should be it should be possible for someone to get a goal. You would have thought it's normally 2020 before the real goal drought start to set in the game. So that's Ramalov picking up an injury, which means that we'll bring Scally in. Scally comes in for a game here. Or does he? Is Novotny better? Positions. Oh no, Novotny's not DMC. So it's Scally who comes in. Let's see if he can put the chairman's words to shame and secure the win for Midlothian here. That would be something else. He can. It's that man, Neil Scally, who comes through with a goal for Midlothian. It had to be him, didn't it? It just had to be Neil Scally. Let's see if they can hold on here. Just the last couple of minutes, Hornison creating a couple of chances. And of course, the chairman's favourite, Carsten Ramelow, picks up an injury. The chairman's least favourite, Neil Scally, steps up to the bar and proves everyone what he's made of and what kind of team Midlothian are. Credit where it's due, a very, very strong performance from Midlothian in the second half. Completely kept Huddersfield Hornets in check. Not a single chance for them in the second half. The kind of back 5, a little bit boring perhaps, but if they get the results out of it, then there's nothing that can be said against it. Obviously, Eric Addo comes in and gets a man of the match performance. It'll be interesting to see if he keeps his place if Hovland comes back. But apart from that, a fairly sort of standard, solid Midlothian performance. Nothing particularly to write home about. A little bit disappointing, maybe that Vieri, Ortega, and Archie Back aren't in the goals. But apart from that, that back 5 or DM5 is working very, very well for them. Dulash, a little bit surprising that he's not doing any better considering how good he's been this season. Plenty of play down the left hand side with Roberto Carlos. Eric Addo doing, as mentioned, so brilliantly, picking up that MOM, and Scally coming in from out of nowhere with a winner for Midlothian there. If you look at Huddersfield Hornets, there's not much to say. They didn't do anything different in the second half. This looks like first half. Just the numbers are slightly higher. Gareth Southgate did well. They're obviously missing Good Johnson in that midfield role there, which would have freed up Hargreaves in the central midfield, or they could have done something slightly different there. I mean, it's a very difficult place to go, Edinburgh, and play against Midlothian, and I think Huddersfield did a relatively good job, definitely in the first half. Nothing really in the second half, but not a performance to be ashamed of. So disappointing, perhaps, with 6 goals in the last 2 that they dried up so quickly, but yeah, it is what it is for Hornets. They've had a tough season, and it continues to be tough for them. Oh gosh, right. We did it. Save. Okay. We did it. We did it. We made it. We made it through. We made it through to the other side, and we've saved it. So the results are in. The results are in. We'll see if, gosh, we'll see if the game will continue to throw up these kind of little errors and and whatnot, and we'll try our best, obviously, to make it through to the end of the season, regardless of what's happening with the file. But let's have a look at the table. Bolton Phoenix. Good win for them away to Astor. Churchtown Massive, good win for them away to Valen. Midlothian win at home. RC Celtic win at home. Valen, obviously the losers of the evening, they lost at home to Churchtown. Chudley Cannons, big winners, now into the top of the table. They have easier games on paper coming up than what they've had recently. I mean, could they be the dark horses this season? RC Celtic and Chudley Cannons, obviously two new sides in the top six. We didn't see them in here last season, and with only 5 games to play, yeah, there's this. I mean, there's all to play for, obviously, for Palmer and Icos, for Aston Athletic. Dragons with that late push. Sloths could have done better, but only picked up a point tonight against the Dragons. So, well, both sides could have done better, but only picked up a point. And more importantly, down at the bottom, Swindon Devils are only 4 points behind BTEC and 5 points behind Hornets. Ninth is maybe a little bit far, but they could definitely still make it out of the bottom. They could definitely still make it out of the bottom. Quick look at the fixtures for next for next round. Pax will be out shortly, obviously, either after the show or first thing tomorrow. We've got Astra at home to Midlothian. Astra again with a chance, pick up 3 points and keep the pressure up. Bolton Phoenix I mean, Dragons are in such free scoring form at the moment. It'll be interesting to see if they can put up a fight against Bolton Phoenix, or if Bolton will continue to press on at the top of the table. Hornets against Valen. Valen, will they find a goal? Will someone score for Valen? I mean, other than Saviola in the last minute, obviously, that remains to be seen. Huddesdon Horn is not in the best of form at the moment, and Valen still looking for a for a win, and for some points and some goals. I mean, they last season's finalists, they're down in fifth. Hooligans, they'll be looking to maybe, I don't know, they'll be looking to pick up 3 points. I'm not sure what they will do in terms of changes. Probably a couple of substitutions. Hopefully get the right guys in there to put up a fight against Churchtown. If they've got Ruud van Nistelrooy back, it could be difficult. They obviously proved themselves to be a strong performing team tonight as well. Palmerton Icos, a big game for Palmerton Icos, and a huge game for BTEC as well. Both sides desperately need a win. BTEC needs to keep some distance at the bottom of the table to Swindon Devils, but they've got both the central defender suspended. It'll be very difficult. Palmerton Icos, desperate for a win, desperate for a decent goalkeeping performance, desperate for something to turn around this season. It started so well, and it's been stop and start and bad luck and injuries and poor performances and chairman errors, etc. for them ever since. So it's been a tough one for debut season for Chris Mack in the Super League. But he's got a chance here with both central defenders missing for BTEC, obviously. Then we've got Sloss. They scored 4 goals against Dragons. Can they score another 4? Chudley, on the run they're on, you've kind of got to fancy them. But Sloss is a very tricky opponent, as we've seen recently. 2-2 with Ardsley, 4-4 with Dragons. There's goals in that Sloss side. It'll be a tricky one. And finally, Swindon Devils against RC Celtic. Hodgie obviously will be delighted with the performance of his side this evening, and picking up all those points. But he'll not be as delighted as Fifey will be. That's a big win for Swindon Devils, a very big win for them. And if they can continue their good run, who knows where they could end up. I mean, the playoffs is obviously a little bit, out of reach. But in terms of 13th, 11th, 12th, 11th, maybe Hooligans, are they too far away? I don't know. We'll see. Where Swindon goes from here. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the show. Apologies for the apologies for having to watch me pressing the same button about 16,000 times. I'm really hoping this will fix itself for for next week. Otherwise, it's going to be a bit of an awkward one. But at least we made it through the week. We've saved it. We've saved the results. So let's see how it goes. Again, thank you very much for your patience. And PAX will be out soon. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday.